I'm Jamie. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Jamie.
I've obviously never spoken at one of these, so be patient with me. But so I wrote some notes in the car, and I was thinking back. In high school, I didn't drink that much, and I didn't really think it would be an issue, though I was thinking about it, and the only really poor experience I remember having that ended up messing up things a little bit in my friendships and stuff was one night that I did drink. So I should have known then it wasn't probably going to be a great path if I went down. But I remember also thinking at that time that I didn't like the taste of alcohol. So I was really, really grateful because I said to myself, well, I'll never be an alcoholic because thankfully I don't like the taste. So great, I'm clear, I'm good to go, which was not the case. Didn't really matter eventually. Early in college, I drank a few times. I definitely binge drank when I did, but again, it wasn't that frequent, and I thought I was fine. Everybody did it, and they did it more than me, so I was good to go. But by 2018, after 2 years of college, I was partying a bit too much with my friend, and I kind of completely lost my mind. When I was in high school, we were living in Japan, and there wasn't access to marijuana or any other drugs because we were on a military base, and we would go get cough medicine from the grocery store, and we weren't allowed to buy it because you had to be 18, so we would steal it off the shelf, and we would take the dextromethorphan, and everybody thought that it was kind of fun as a once in a while thing to get away with. And I didn't do it since high school, but in 2018, I was hanging out with a friend that I had gone to school with. And for whatever reason, we were like, oh, that was fun in high school. Why don't we try that again? And so we did, and we smoked weed and we drank. And by the end of 2 weeks on vacation with her, I was in Florida, and I completely lost my mind. Like, I'm pretty sure I was psychotic. I barely remember any of it, but I know that my uncle, who's a psychiatrist and thankfully lived in the area, got me on a plane because I'd missed my flight, of course, and shipped me back to my mom in Arizona because I couldn't be alone. I couldn't be by myself. I was not in a place where I could function. So I went back to Arizona and stayed with her, and she was taking care of me. I was going to therapy like every single day almost for about 6 months. And I finally thought I was doing better because I got a job. I had dropped out of college to recover because I was sick, and I got a job, and I wasn't completely out of my mind. I was able to function. So again, I thought everything's going to be fine. Sometimes I would still sneak the cough medicine because it was legal and I was 18 and I could buy it. And I was prescribed a medical marijuana card because I had migraines. So everything was still legal. It was all fine. I never tried hard drugs, so it wasn't an issue. I knew at that point, well, I never could try cocaine because I would definitely be addicted. I know I would. So I always told myself, I can't do hard drugs, but these things are legal, so it's fine. And, but I was still sneaking, and that's when the being alone and hiding what I was doing started for me. In early 2019, we moved to Washington, and still sometimes I would sneak it, and I ended up stealing some pills from my grandpa, which I can't believe I did, but I did. And I just knew I wasn't able to be okay. I wasn't able to be sober already. I knew that. And so I went to an inpatient center for like a week, and I thought it was because of my mental health, not even just the inability to be sober. But when I was there, I saw a lot of people that were a lot sicker than me. And when I was sober, I wasn't like, my brain still did function somewhat. So I wasn't the same as them. And I knew if I got out and I was sober, I'd be fine. So I got out and I was doing okay again. I still was smoking weed because I thought it was totally fine and legal, and especially in Washington, it's great. And I kind of don't remember exactly how I slipped, but I don't think I was taking the cough medicine anymore, but I was taking risks. I was meeting up with people that I didn't know and trying to find some kind of excitement. And I was living with my parents, and I was making them super nervous and super scared. And my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer, and So she wasn't doing great. And I was still going out and doing whatever I wanted because it was all about me. And I remember one night I didn't come home all night, and she was like, "You cannot live here anymore if you do not stop because I'm not doing okay. And I can't worry about you like this and worry about myself." She's like, "So you have to pick, like, do what you want to do or be a good kid, basically, and be able to be there for me." So at that point, I was able to realize that there are things much bigger than myself, and I needed to focus on those things. So from 20 to about 22, I was doing pretty well, and um, I went back to school and I was getting my degree, and I turned 21, and I didn't really go to bars because I didn't really have a lot of friends still, because I still was kind of a loner, which is fine. And I just didn't go out much, and drinking didn't seem like an issue because I was 21 and now I could drink, but I wasn't. And I was in school and I was doing well. I met my boyfriend in early 2022, and I know I was drinking a little bit at that point. I was becoming comfortable with it, and we dated for 2 weeks, which is crazy. And then he was supposed to be gone for a month on a detachment, and because of COVID, he was gone for 3 months. And he gave me his puppy dog. He got him about 12 hours before he left for this 3 months, and I decided to take care of his dog. So I jumped right into it. But I also had met some of his friends that were in the Navy, and I started to hang out with them because they were my new friends, and I realized how people could really drink, and I was completely shocked. I went over one weekend, and they drank. I mean, now it's like I call it a bender, and I thought that what they were doing, drinking all night Friday until like 3 in the morning, sleeping for a few hours, getting up in the morning, and keeping on drinking. I was like, this is the party. Like they say in the book, like, I have arrived. Like, this is it. And I thought that was the sign of adulthood. These people aren't living with their parents. They have a job. They have their own house. Their parents aren't there having to watch what they're doing, and they were able to party, and it was legal, and it was social, and it was normal. But that's when it definitely quickly started to progress. And despite having this guy who loved me and cared for me and was offering me to stay in his house after we'd only been in person for 2 weeks, but I moved in while he was gone on those 3 months. He came back, and things were really good, but I had already gotten to a point where I couldn't go to sleep without alcohol. And so every night I'd have a few beers because I needed to sleep. I mean, everybody has to get some rest. But it became daily, and if not every other day. And I was concerned. I remember thinking multiple times that I knew it was progressing, and I didn't like feeling the need to drink every day, but I still didn't think that I was an alcoholic. I didn't think that it was that bad, and I could stop. But then it got worse and worse over the 2 years, and I'd asked him multiple times if he could ask me how many drinks I had each day, so at least I had accountability. Because if I had to admit it to somebody, then obviously I would stop because it was embarrassing. That didn't work, and he realized, he's smarter than me, more mature than me sometimes, that he wasn't going to be able to stop me from doing these things. Like, I had to make a choice, and he's a normie, and so he's just like, just stop drinking. Like, it's just easy, just don't do it. Wasn't for me. Wasn't at all as easy as just not doing it. But he left at the start of April, on April 1st, to go on another deployment. And my parents were in Montana, and so it was just me at their house because I moved back in, so we didn't have to spend money on rent and all that. But I was all by myself. He was gone, they were gone, and before he'd left, I told myself that, okay, he's gone. This is my chance to get sober. I'm either going to get sober over the next 6 months, or I'm going to drink myself to death because I can't stop and I don't know what to do. And I really wanted my choice to be to stop drinking. But when he left and I was all there all by myself, I had myself a 3-day bender because I was an adult by myself in a house, and this is what it is. And I drank about 4 bottles of whiskey and just I don't understand how that much didn't kill me or make me unconscious or anything, but somehow I got through a lot of it. And I made it to work somehow on Monday and went on Tuesday only for a few hours, and then immediately told myself, okay, I drank all weekend. I did my bender. Now I'm going to stop. All right. I got it out of my system. But then I come home from work and immediately I would find another bottle somewhere that my parents had because I wasn't going to go buy it. If I didn't go buy it, I couldn't have it because it wasn't mine. And I don't like to steal things. But every night I convinced myself that it was okay. I would just go buy them a new bottle in the morning. And then I went up to Bellingham to take his car to the oil shop or to get an oil change. And I decided to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and have a few beers because I thought that was normal and it would be fine because I wouldn't have that many. And I just drank 4 bottles of whiskey in 3 days. So having a couple beers definitely wouldn't impact me. That would be just fine. And I was doing fine, I thought. I went back to the dealership after a few hours. I talked to a bunch of people. Nobody had any inclination that I was intoxicated. But as I was driving home, I started feeling really sleepy, and I only had about 10 minutes left. So I pulled into my driveway, and I saw the police lights, and I was like, shit. All right. I thought this would happen, but I didn't really expect it to be when I pulled in my driveway. But I was relieved because I needed something outside of myself to help me. I obviously couldn't stop. I tried every day, and I was sitting in then eventually got to the jail and was in a cell all by myself and horrified and embarrassed and realizing that I was at a point where I was so low and I didn't know how to stop that I didn't really know the option except that I was definitely so depressed. I was suicidal. I was like, I can't do this. I can't deal with this. This is so embarrassing. I don't want to live through this. This is going to be the worst thing in the entire world. And I didn't know if I even was going to get out in the morning. So I completely surrendered. I hadn't really had a relationship with God, but I wasn't going to have a relationship with anybody in that jail cell. It was just me, and that wasn't working out. So I asked God to please help me get out and help me to find sobriety because I couldn't live like the way I was. I didn't want to. It wasn't fun. I didn't make it. I did not make it. It wasn't great. And so somehow I was allowed to leave in the morning, and I went to my first meeting. Well, I got out on April 7th from the jail. I've been sober since. And I don't understand it except higher power. My God is amazing because I am happier than I've ever been. I found community in these meetings that I never thought that I would have. I've been able to be honest with myself, start to forgive myself, not for everything, but working on it. And I realized that there was a time I used to write myself notes when I was drunk about how it wasn't really that fun and I should probably stop. And then I would immediately throw them away when I woke up in the morning because it was embarrassing. But I found one. I was talking about a meeting this morning. I found one that I had written, and I wrote, I have everything I need, but not what I want. And I've been thinking about that a lot because I did technically have everything I need. I was financially somewhat secure. I was living with my boyfriend, so we had our own place, and I had all the things that I thought I needed, but I didn't even know what I wanted. I had no idea what I wanted. I wasn't happy. None of that was making me content. I was completely discontent with everything, even though I thought everything I needed was right there. But now, somehow, from working the steps and doing this every single day, working at it every single day, I don't have the things that I was writing about then. I don't have the money. I don't have my own place. My boyfriend's gone on deployment. I don't have those things that I was telling myself should make me happy but weren't. But now I have something completely different, and I have that happy, joyous, and free, the ability to be happy, joyous, and free as long as I continue on this path. And it is completely surprising, but I keep saying I'm not going to question any of it because obviously it's working, and I'm just very grateful for this program and for everybody in these rooms because I never thought that I would be here, but the other option was not great, so I'm so grateful. So thank you all for letting me talk.